Well, it's my honor to introduce Shirley Henderson Coleman. She's a native of Atlanta and has over 35 years of combined experience in marketing, development, public relations, and advertising in the nonprofit and for profit arenas. For the past 10 years, she's served as Director of Development and Marketing for the Sadie G. Mays Health and Rehab Center in Northwest Atlanta. Prior to joining the staff, Ms. Coleman served on the board of directors of Sadie G. Mays for 16 years. Since her tenure there began, excuse me, Mrs. Coleman has raised the profile of the respected skilled nursing facility in the community and helped to garner funds for its operations and programs. Next year, Sadie G. Mays Health and Rehab Center will celebrate its 75th anniversary. Take it away, Shirley.
Okay, thank you so much, Scott. Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see each of you here, and thanks for joining us for this special program. And as you know, today the spotlight is Black-owned businesses in healthcare, in elder care, inspiration, challenge, opportunity. So in the wake of Black History Month, ASCNN wanted to highlight some of our successful Black-owned businesses in elder care and senior services. So some of them are female-owned as well. So we'll be dovetailing nicely with our Women's History Month too. So we'll meet 4 business owners this morning and learn about their journey, their challenges, and the opportunities that exist for all of us to support one another. I'll introduce them all, and then they will give their presentations according to the program schedule. And we hope that Mr. Larche will be joining us shortly. So our first panelist is going to be one of our own ASCNN members. That's Adrienne Peppler, formerly Simpson. Congratulations, Adrienne. And Adrienne is the president of Smooth Move Senior Relocation Services. Their services include home clearing, sorting, organizing, packing, transport, hanging pictures and drapes, hoarder assistance, estate sales, antique appraisal, heirloom delivery, and charity donations. That's a lot of service, and they could do a great job, I'm sure. We'll be hearing more about that. And so we want to welcome Adrienne. Wave, Adrienne, so people can see you. Our third panelist would be Sandi Comer Cooper. Wave, Sandi, so they can see you. Sandi's co-owner and CEO of Right at Home, Greater Atlanta, along with her daughter, Aziza. And Aziza Cooper is the chief financial officer. This mother-daughter duo started the first Right at Home in Georgia in 2003. So it's definitely a family affair. And Right at Home is also an ASCNN member. So let's welcome her. Sandi, wave, so they'll know who you are. And our final panelist will be J. Mack Willis, Sr., who is president and CEO of Somerset Assisted Living Communities and co-founder with his wife, Gwendolyn Willis, who serves as senior vice president of operations. And they're located on Benjamin E. Mays Drive in Southwest Atlanta. Somerset offers 24-hour, 7-day-a-week nurse and nurse care attendants who provide assistance with all activities of daily living. They provide adult daycare and respite care. And last December, they celebrated their 20th anniversary. So welcome, Matt. So each of our distinguished panelists will answer 3 basic questions. Number 1, what inspired you to start your business? Number 2, what have been your biggest challenges as a Black-owned business? And 3, what opportunities do you see in the future for your business and for those of us in the elder care community to support one another? So we'll start with Adrienne of Smooth Move. Take it away, Adrienne.
Thank you so much, Shirley, and good morning, everyone. That's the last slide. We need number 1. Back up. There we go. There's number 1. Okay, very good. So the other question was my inspiration. And just to let you all know, there is a backstory to my inspiration. And for those of you who don't know it, let me share it with you real quick. In Detroit, Michigan, I was director of operations. And I woke up one morning to find out that I was being downsized and divorced all at the same time. And so that was extremely stressful. And one night, 3 angels came to me in a dream and said, go to Atlanta, it'll be all right. And I know that sounds pretty hokey, but the next day I packed up and I went to Atlanta. I didn't have a job. I barely had a place to stay, but I came to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, I was once again hired as director of operations. Some years later, woke up again to find that I was being downsized once again. Well, once I moved here, my mom decided that she wasn't going to have a bunch of strangers raise her only grandchild while I was trying to get my life back together. She sold her house in Detroit, bought a house in Stone Mountain, and helped me raise my daughter. And about the time that I was unemployed again, mom decided that she was moving back to Detroit. She says, you all don't need me anymore. I'm going back to Detroit. And so that's when the inspiration came, because I was unemployed, didn't have anything to do. And I said, hey, mom, I got this. I'll get you back there. Not an issue. So my mother was my inspiration. She showed me that seniors move differently. They downsize. And so after all those years in corporate America, I did not initially see the business as it is right now. All that time in corporate America, I saw a fragmented customer service delivery process for a very fragile client. That's kind of corporate speak. But that's how the business was born, was out of the need to serve my mom and serve seniors that were going through a very, very difficult time in their lives. Next slide, please. Okay, my biggest challenge. These are some of my guys and myself at an AARP event that we did. So one of my biggest challenges as a Black-owned business is overcoming the many negative daily media stereotypes placed on African Americans. In the beginning, I had clients that would follow my crew from room to room, watching every single move they made. I had one Caucasian man, when I went to go visit with him at his home, tell me, and he wasn't shy about it, he says, honey, when I talked to you on the phone, I thought you were as white as I am, but you're here now and I hear you do a great job, so come on in, let's do this. So, it's just been kind of a challenge, but I've also had to have discussions with my guys to have them know the difference in how they are called boy and how someone speaks and interacts with them, how to read body language, and how to de-escalate a variety of situations. I could probably write a book from all the things that we've had to experience. So I guess the biggest challenge was having clients overlook race and gaining everyone's trust and confidence. Anyone on this call that has been around a while knows there was a time when there was no one that looked like me in any of these networking groups, right, John? But I'm glad the group has grown, and I am so grateful to all of you for having believed in me and the services that we provide and supported my dream to be of service to seniors and my community. Next slide. Last slide. All my trucks have names, and this is Big Mama. There's Big Mama, there's Nellie, there's Mabel, there's Little Mama, there's Ellie Mae and Sally. So all of our trucks have names, just so you're wondering. But anyway, what opportunities do I see in the future for my business and others in senior services? First of all, for the business, I see more commercial projects. As senior communities renovate and Mother Nature has her way with lightning, freezing temps and such, working on commercial projects and the larger projects with communities have been what's keeping the doors open during this pandemic. And it's been a blessing. The sweet part of the larger projects is that I don't need to use trucks. So I can make money by dropping a crew off at a community and still have my trucks moving around with, the moves. The second part of how we can support each other, I think outside of networking and keeping our, helping out our seniors first and foremost by referring to each other as we know someone that can meet our client's need, that's great. But I also see mentoring is one of the ways that we can support each other. To me, it doesn't matter if a business is different or the competition. I'm willing to help anyone grow and be successful because I'm of the opinion there's enough out there for everyone. And so if I can help you go get it, let me know. Because at some point, everyone needs a little help. So with that, and I know I had 10 minutes, I didn't take my full 10 minutes. I didn't know if part of that was going to be a Q&A, but Shirley, that's it for me and my presentation. And thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much, Adrienne. That was a wonderful presentation. Gave us some very good insight as to your inspiration and what your experiences have been, good and bad. So we thank you for that. And our next presenter is going to be Sandi Comer-Cooper of Right at Home. Sandi, we're thrusting you into second place. Mr. Lachey is still working on getting connected. So if you don't mind, we'd love for you to go next.
Okay.
And look forward to hearing from you. Sandi's from Right at Home.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me here. I have been part of this group, I think, for about 17 years. I don't know. It's a very long time. I think the people that I do know is Adrienne, Shirley, Donna Crane, and a couple of other people. So I think things have changed over time. In any case, I started this business because my daughter and I were looking for a business to do together. I've been in corporate America. I worked for NBC in New York and BBD&O advertising. I went from there to try and figure out something that I felt more comfortable with and ended up at the New York City Police Department as a liaison. I've done the gamut over the years. And then we moved to Atlanta, and I found that I had been doing a nonprofit in Connecticut. And when I got here, I continued. I worked for Fulton County Arts Council. I worked for Emory School of Public Health with a program for female injection users and crack cocaine users. So I've done the gamut. And so when I ended some of those projects, I decided with my daughter that we do something together. And what happened was my father-in-law had Parkinson's disease, and they were living in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And my mother-in-law was taking care of him. And we would go down every month and a half. And we had gone down, and he was on a walker. We went down a month and a half later, and she had him strapped into a wheelchair so that he wouldn't fall over. The disease was progressing quickly, and they were alone. However, he didn't want anybody else in the house. He just wanted her to do it. Well, she was exhausted emotionally, physically, and we knew we couldn't keep that situation as it was. So we started looking for in-home care in Port St. Lucie. And that's when I said, oh, this is not good. We can do something better. If this is what we have as options, this will not work. And so anyway, we figured out a process with the church and friends and that kind of thing to help them. And so I told my daughter what happened, and we started looking at in-home care companies as our business and found Right at Home. And we chose them because the CEO and the founder was somebody who, from everything we could see about him, and we did go out to Omaha, Nebraska to meet him, and he was exactly what we would want from somebody who started a company like this. He was an administrator, a hospital administrator, and he understood seniors. He understood the needs of seniors. He had compassion and he had integrity. So that's what we did. And we did that in 2002, but we actually started in 2003. We were the first right at home in the state of Georgia. Now there's about 8 of us, or 9 maybe. I'm not even sure, but that's how we got started. Our biggest challenge was financial. Obtaining a loan in 2003 was very difficult. Most banks and the SBA want you to have 2 years of business background, and we didn't have that. And we had a very difficult time trying to set up relationships with banks. We were dealing with SunTrust at the time, which was a large bank in the area, and we just could not get through the process of getting a loan through them. We didn't have a personal banker. So it was quite difficult for us. So my husband and I had to fund the business with the help of my daughter, who was an attorney. She gave us some money. My mother-in-law gave us some money. We used our retirement money. We used whatever savings we had, which was slim pickings at the time. So that's how we got to finance our company. What we know that it's a challenge for Black-owned companies to secure financing, and that's been documented. And this is what Black-owned companies usually do to get started, is they use their friends, their family, their credit cards, their savings to get started. And 6 out of 10 Black-owned companies never ask for any money because they don't think they'll get it. So that was the biggest challenge for us. And I have a group of friends that we've been friends for years and years, and they all have their own business as well. And we all started around the same time. So we decided that we would commit to each other to talk about everything that we had to deal with, including finances. And there was another company that was at the exact same place we were we had very, very similar financial structure, all of that. However, they were white, they're good friends of mine, and they went to a bank and they got $250,000 as a line of credit. We went to the same bank and actually we had more assets, and we got a $25,000 line of credit. Our interest rate was higher. So these are the types of things that we come up against. So of course, investment allows a company to grow. So if you can't get the income, the investment money, you can't move the company forward. We started out the way I've laid out here, that we used our own money. We are a multi-million-dollar company now. However, the same company that I talked about, they make double the income that we do, because there was a constant and consistent influx of investment money. That investment money allows you to get the best people for your company, to be able to do marketing, all of those things, so that you can start at the same place. But if you don't have the opportunities for money and input in investment and connections, it makes a difference. So that adage of, your bootstraps, well, some people don't have boots. They won't get any boots. Some people, they have the straps, but the straps are different lengths. So how far you can pull yourself up depends on whether or not you have the same opportunities. Is my time up yet? A time check?
No, you're doing fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm looking at the future, And with the increasing cost of Medicare and Medicaid, you know, we all know there's a problem, or there will be a problem for all of us if some of this doesn't get changed and reworked. But the Deloitte, the auditing firm, projects that the home care industry will grow to $157 billion by 2022. So the outlook for my industry is pretty good. And the population, I am a baby boomer. No, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay in my house, whatever that is at the time. And, you know, we're seeking services to support us where we live. So that looks good for the in-home care company and the home health companies, and, you know, any company, hospice companies as well. My husband is a physician and he's board certified in hospice and palliative care. So the hospice companies are in the home, and that is another service that will be needed as well. So I think the services for home care are going to continue and to rise, actually. But there is a shortage of qualified professionals who are in geriatrics, and it's across the board in all specialties. So I think that that's another issue that our healthcare industry is going to have to deal with. We have to have more incentives for healthcare workers to even deal with geriatrics. Many of the geriatric physicians just don't get paid on the same level as, you know, some of the other specialties. So we're going to have to figure out some of those things. You know, there needs to be payment, you know, provider payment needs to be increased. And I think there should be debt forgiveness for healthcare workers. And I think that across the board, the healthcare industry needs to extend their training for all of healthcare professionals in geriatrics as well. You know, they just don't do it. My husband is a Yale medical graduate. And in order for him to take nutrition as a course when he was in medical school, he had to go to the nursing school. So we need to integrate across disciplines in order to keep the population healthy, whether it's young, old, through the continuum of life. And so that's where I hope we'll be going in terms of the entire industry. The other thing that we're looking at is technology. Okay, there's, you know, we're moving forward. Environmental sensors, video surveillance, mobile devices, body sensors, remote automation. And now I've read 3 articles about robots that are being developed for feeding and washing and lifting and carrying and mobilizing. Well, that'll put me out of business, but I think that's going to take time to get there. But I think we have to really look at how we're integrating all of our services together and across disciplines. I would like to ask that everybody keep that in mind. And I know you all know this stuff. I'm not telling you anything new, but we need to work in a way that we haven't thought about before. Because of the pandemic, I think that it has brought up a lot of issues for all of us. And I think that's all I'm going to say.
Sandi, that was excellent. Thank you very much. It was very good insight.
Thank
And
you.
I'm actually embarrassed to say I've learned a lot from both you and Adrienne so far that I was blissfully unaware of. So I appreciate the insight, really do. Shirley, I see that Joseph is on, but I don't think he's able to speak at this point. So let's go ahead and go to Mack and then see if we'll be able to catch up with Joseph at the end, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. Mack, are you there? This will be Mack Willis, Senior of Somerset Assisted Living Community.
Yes, ma'am, I am here. Am I able to share a screen?
Brian, is he able
Yeah,
to
you
share
should
screen?
be. You should be able to now. Hold on 1 second, Mr. Willis. Yeah, you should be able to share your screen. I think everyone shall. Will be, but let's just let Mr. Willis. Do you see a button down at the bottom that says share screen?
I'm looking for the buttons now. Bear with, I think we're, just a moment. How do I share the screen? Oh, here it is, right here. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Just a second, just a second.
Mr. Willis, I believe you might be muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you so very much. I'm very appreciative for having the opportunity to interact with this group. Seems like you guys are doing some wonderful work. And Ms. Coleman, thank you so much for extending the invitation. I'm Mack Willis, Georgia born, Georgia bred, grew up down near Macon, Georgia in Forsyth. And as soon as I got a lawnmower and got enough bus fare, I left. Came to the bigger city. So I've been in and out of Atlanta for most of my adult life. I joined IBM back in 1975. And actually, the biggest part of my story is the bullet of inspiration. I got a promotion to Princeton in New Jersey back in 1980. And this was a wonderful opportunity. My wife was 6 months pregnant, I believe 7 months pregnant, and her mother and mine tried to convince her to stay here in Atlanta. Let Mack go up and find a house, and then you can join him. And my wife said, no, I need to be involved in picking my house. So she went to New Jersey, and IBM hired somebody to show us around and take us to different places. And in the car, out of the car, up the stairs, down the stairs, the baby came a month early. And we had rented a house until the house we were having built was completed. And the baby came a month early. And here we are in the Princeton emergency room with everything in boxes in the house. Didn't know where the heck we were. Didn't know where the grocery store was. And I know my mother told me, you make sure you contact Lois when you get to New York. I was in Princeton for 3 years. So we were there, and I called my Aunt Lois from Princeton and told her I was here. I was 2 weeks into my new job. I had just a little bit of additional pressure. I was the only person of color on campus. And so I had to make a good showing. And I told Aunt Lois that I didn't know what to do. I said, here I am, I got to see about this new baby and my wife. She said, she was a retired RN from a hospital in New York. She'd been retired about 7 or 8 years. She said, listen, Max, stop talking, listen. Are you listening? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm listening. She said, as of this phone call, are you listening? I said, yes, I'm listening. As of this phone call, your family is my responsibility. You go out to your job and you do what you need to do out there. And that was the beginning of a wonderful, joyful journey for us. So the baby was there a month early. She said, when Gwen and that baby come home, they're coming here to White Plains with me. And that's what happened. I didn't see Gwen or the baby in about 2 months, in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. My brother flew up from Atlanta, got my 4-year-old kid and brought him back down to my mother down in Forsyth. And here I was off to the races. So, and that call from the Princeton emergency room really changed our lives. Because little did I know, about 18 months from that point, I got another promotion that took me to corporate headquarters in New York. So we went up and bought a house in Chappaqua, New York, which was about 15 or 20 minutes from where Aunt Lois and Uncle James lived. They never had children, and they were just thrilled that they had a role to play in a growing family's life. And it was just wonderful. After a couple of years, Gwen took a job as a guidance counselor in Sleepy Hollow, New York. And if she had a late meeting, Aunt Lois and Uncle James get the kids from school, pick them up, stay with them until Gwen got home. And it was just a wonderful relationship. We joined their church, went to church almost every Sunday, and every Sunday after church, we went to something like Fridays, like it was called Friendlies, and had breakfast. It was just a wonderful relationship that developed. So finally, we had an opportunity to come back to Atlanta. And about 6 months after we arrived in Atlanta, Uncle James passed. And Aunt Lois said, well, I'm 82 now. A lot of my friends have passed on. And you guys are my family now, and I want to come and be with you. And she came and stayed with us for about 2 months. She said, you know, I've had my house for my own home for about 50 years, over 50 years. I need my own place. So we found her a place in College Park, and we were in East Cobb near my IBM office. So we would visit Aunt Lois a couple of times a month. And then it got to the point she started getting into early dementia. We were visiting her a couple of times a week. And then it got to be almost every day. So we, not very wise move, but moved her to Sandy Springs because we found an independent living place. That was about what she needed then. As time progressed, her dementia was increasing, and we saw these things coming up on the scene over in East Cobb. And we stopped in and said, what kind of a nursing home is this? She said, no, it's not a nursing home. It's a brand new concept. It's called assisted living. What's that? Well, it's where somebody's not really sick enough to be in bed in a nursing home, but the family's not comfortable with them living alone. So we said that would be great for Aunt Lois because she wants to get back over in the south side of Atlanta where her friends are and where she's doing church. So we started driving all through Southwest Atlanta, and then the internet was fairly new on the scene. And we couldn't find anything like that. And Gwen said, well, there's got to be other families over here with the same kind of challenges that we're having. Why don't we just buy a piece of land and build one? And that's how Somerset was born. So we brought Aunt Lois from Sandy Springs to show when we broke ground. We brought it when it was about half done. We brought it when it was finished. And we told her this is built, so you'll have a place to stay over here in your community. And she walked throughout the building. We said, you can shoot. We only had 46 suites at the time. You can choose any room, any suite you want. And she said, I like this one. I like this one. We said, it's yours. So on the way out the door to take her back over to Sandy Springs to her independent living place, her dementia was a little more advanced at that point. And she said, you know what, Mack, Gwen, I can't live in this big old place all by myself. Why don't we let some other folks stay here too? And so we said, that is a great idea, Aunt Lois. And so we moved her in, and we've been on the road ever since. And we expanded in 2007 and added another 61 rooms. So now we have 106 suites. And that is our story. And our motto and mission vision statement happens to be providing top quality, excellent, compassionate care to those we serve. Providing top quality, excellent, compassionate care to those we serve. Now, as far as that was the motivation, as far as the challenges, I have to share join with Sandi that the biggest challenge was getting financing. Finally got an SBA loan. We were slow getting started off, had all my bills paid, except I was slow on the mortgage because they incorporated replacement costs, taxes, all these escrows. And I tried to get them just let me pay the mortgage and worry about the tax escrows and all this stuff. I couldn't get any agreement there. So they wound up having to box my assisted living home with about 12 others. And some investor bought them all. Well, it's a long, long story, but I was very tenacious and found out who bought them. And I wound up, after they owned it about 3 weeks, about a month, I was able to buy it back and giving them a $400,000 profit. And the story is how I bought them back, because they were looking at numbers that had been given to them nearly 9 months before when we were just over half full. The investors were. At the time, they got all the paperwork settled and they owned it, and I found out who owned it. I was full. So we were quite profitable. I couldn't get any banks to talk to me. I went to 6 majority banks in the Atlanta area, 6, and I could not get an audience with anyone who had the lending capacity to help me get my business back. Nobody. Finally, one Saturday morning, my wife grabbed me. She said, I'm going down to a program. I forget, there's some hotel downtown. It's the Governor's Honors Program in literature. My wife had taught over at Georgia State University for a while before going to New York and New Jersey. And I said, I ain't going to any kind of governor's honors program in literature this morning. I got stuff to do at home. And she persisted, and I went. So we got there, and at lunch we broke, and we were in line to serve our place. And there was only like 4 or 5 Black folk there, and there was one of those Black folk behind me in line. And Gwen said to him, she said, well, Jim, who are you here with today? He said, actually, I'm here alone. And she said, why don't you eat with Mack and me? And he did. And we started talking. He had come down from New York a few years before. He had been an executive with Citibank. He came and took over a bank out in Decatur, First Southern Bank. And he had been there for about 3 or 4 years. And the largest Black bank in Atlanta bought that bank because they wanted him to be the president. So we maintained the relationship. So after I had gone to all 6 of these Caucasian banks, and the issue was, I go to the branch and the guy didn't have the lending capacity. I said, well, can you recommend to let me get an audience with somebody who can? And the answer was always no. Because if he had reckoned me up to someone that had a higher lending authority, that would have been a tacit approval of my project. So the safest thing for him to say was no. I then had already checked with Citizens Trust Bank, the Black bank in Atlanta, and they said, we just don't have the lending capacity. So by the time Jim Young got to be president, got an audience with him and told them what the situation was. He said, well, Mack, we can't finance your project, just don't have the capacity. He said, but he said, you're very fortunate. About 6 months ago, I was elected president of the National Black Bankers Association. He said, let me make a call to New York and one to New Jersey. We're going to do this project because your numbers are great, you look good, you're at full capacity. And that's how we got the financing. He made a few calls, put the deal together. They were the lead bank. He got 2 other Black banks in the Northeast to join in with him. And that's how we secured the financing. So like Sandi, financing happened to be a challenge for us also. So that's our story. And we seem to be on a path to recovery now after COVID. I believe I see a clear path to returning to normalcy within my business. Am I out of time?
Yes, you are. But thank you so much, Mack. That was quite a journey you guys took. And we're so happy for you sharing your story and your insight as to, all the challenges you've had. And we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I think that
So Brian, Brian has Joseph on a phone line. I'm not sure how well this will work. Let's give it a shot.
Well, actually, John, I think we're probably going to just, if you're okay, we reschedule him. He's having some technical issues.
Okay. All right. So I think it'd be a good time for our audience. Let's start first with chat. If you can remove your screen from sharing screen, or Brian or Mack, whichever, and there we go. If any of you have questions for any of our speakers, let's start with a chat, and then either Brian or I will ask, or perhaps we could try opening it up for discussion. I think it'll get out of hand pretty quickly if we just do it randomly. But if anybody has questions for any or all of our panelists, it would be a good time to do that now. So thank you all, each one of you. Very good information. I really appreciated it. I see no chats. No chats.
Hey, John, I'll ask a question.
All right.
As a business owner, if you were starting over today in 2021, with your experience and background, what would you do differently, or what would you advise someone that's in your place now where you were when you started your business?
Who's that directed to?
Anyone who to you, Mr. Willis, if you'd like to go.
Hit dog hollers. Yeah, that's a very good question. I was fortunate in that even when I was in New York, I continued to invest in real estate in Atlanta. So by the time I came back here, I had a fairly decent portfolio of rental properties. And fortunately, the pendulum had swung in the right direction, so the values were up. So I felt like I had a little bit more than adequate resources, but I guess I would try to plot a different path toward trying to get to the appropriate financing sources. I guess the one thing I probably would change if I could was be born to very wealthy parents.
That's great advice. How about you, Adrienne?
For me, I probably would have done more homework because I bootstrapped when I started the business. I had exactly $1,500 in the bank, which I owed to IRS. And I said, am I going to give my money to IRS or am I going to feed my family? And so I would have done more homework on organizations that were out there to help fund businesses, because there's a lot out there. You know, I didn't work with SBA, but SBA is now, you know, working more with folks, getting them funded. I worked with the Women's Economic Development Agency, SCORE. So I would have done a lot more homework other than just being as impulsive as I am and just jumping right out there and getting it done.
I want to ask before Sandi speaks, I want to ask, was SCORE helpful to you?
SCORE was amazing. They were absolutely amazing. And I'm sure everybody knows what SCORE is, but it's I know it's retired, Corps of Retired Executives or whatever. And even though I was 30 years as a corporate executive, I had experience running an existing national organization, but I had no experience or knowledge on how to start a company.
Right.
So that was my challenge, was starting something on my own. So SCORE was amazingly helpful. I went to them for, with help with finding financing, the business plan, marketing, all of that. They had an expert for whatever it is I needed or whatever I had a question for. And I am still in touch 20 years later with a number of the SCORE reps, on a personal basis.
Yeah, my brother's heavily involved in SCORE, and that's why I asked that question. Sandi, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think that today in 2021, there are many more opportunities if you're trying to start a business. There's all kinds of incubators and information that's out there. It's a lot different now than it was when I started 19 years ago. However, I didn't get to say this, is that the Empowerment Zone was the only organization that they loaned us $18,000 in our second year of business. And that was, which is now Invest Atlanta. So, I mean, there are many more opportunities for financial investment now, and also help in terms of how to put together the financial package for a bank.
Great.
I have
Thank
one
you.
more nugget of information I'd like to share is an example, because I have several instances of this. But one of the things I must say is that I found how it is invaluable to be in a position to speak for yourself and to carry your own water. This example is, as my wife and I had decided to launch this business, we would leave church, which is about 10 minutes from where I'm sitting now at my office. And we'd leave church and ride through the Cascade area, looking for spots of land. And we said, if we're going to build this thing to service the Black community, it's 100% private pay. Assisted living is throughout the nation. So we got to find a community that can support it. So in my community, we've got people like Hank Aaron and Andy Young and John Lewis and people who are of substance. And so we would drive through the community, and we had contracted to buy a very elongated piece of land that's right across the street from where we are now. And we were about to go to contract with it, but we were riding one Sunday, and my wife said, "Hold it, stop. Everybody knows what kudzu is." She said, "I see something over there in the bushes in the kudzu." She got out and picked up this sign where this property had been on the market 8 or 9 years before. And the sign was faded, and she brought it to the car, and she opened the back door, and she reached in and got tissue and started trying to wipe it off. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm trying to clean this sign off so we can get the number." I said, "Girl, put that thing on the back seat and let's go home." And we did. We got the number. We called the realtor, and he said, I will call the owner and see if he still wants to put it on the market. I said, do this. I called him back. I said, do this for me. I said, I want you to arrange a meeting with myself. Tell him you have someone who may be interested. I want to meet him. And I went downtown, 18th floor of Peachtree Street, and I met Mr. Lipowitz. Told him what I wanted to do. He said, well, I've owned a lot of property in that area, and this is the last piece. And he went on to tell me about his financial successes. He said, so what are you willing to pay for it? I said, well, I'm about to go to contract about 2 acres right across the street from that. And I told him what it was. He said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mr. Willis. I'm going to let you have my 6 acres over here for the same thing you were going to pay for those 2 acres. And that was just a wonderful blessing. Wonderful blessing. But he said, I like your story. I like what you're trying to do. And I know that that community needs something like this. He said, so if that will help you, I'm happy to do it. That realtor could not have delivered that story. So there's value in carrying your own water.
Great. Good story. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to again thank our panelists for such an enlightening, interesting presentations that they gave us and inspiring. So I just want to invite the ones, Mr. Willis, and we'll invite Mr. Larche to join the Atlanta Senior Care Networking niche and become new members. We're always happy to welcome new members. So we hope that you will join us, Mr. Willis, and we'll keep this relationship going. How about that?
Sounds very good. I certainly enjoyed the program. And thank you so much again for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Adrienne. You all did a wonderful job.
Shirley, thank you so much for putting this together. I apologize for not, I've got distracted seeing people texting me that they're trying to get off. I'm got distracted. Sorry about that. It was a very good program. I really appreciate what you did. I appreciate each speaker, and what you brought to the program was very helpful.
I love the fact that this was an American story and very uplifting.
Yeah, that's right.